Hi guys, so this is going to be a longer video, so grab some popcorn. It's me building a computer. It shouldn't be long for you, I guess, I don't know. So some of this stuff is going to be time-lapsed, so I'm just gonna do actually the part. I'm gonna basically I'm gonna interrupt the time lapse in a bit. This actually is recorded as the final part because of I'm recording this first because of it took 10 hours, just letting you know. And it's because stuff happened. I explained it in the video, so enjoy. Hi guys, so these is my new server build. So this is an Antec case. This is some SATA cables I zip tied together to make for better cable management. The only used parts in here are the SATA cables, these hard drives, which are from my old server build, and a 1050 Ti that's going to get replaced with the 2060 most likely, and it just needs something better for encoding. The new parts are um a MSI board that's for 10th gen, a Be Quiet Pure Power 11, some PNY um XL XLR8, uh, 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 um, an i3 10100F, a 256 WD blue SSD, and this, which are dummy plugs, so I can basically run it headless. And there's some thermal paste, and I'm gonna do this in a time lapse so you can see this faster, because what I'm going to do is basically test it just to make sure everything works, and then yeah, so thanks for watching so far. Be right back. Guys, sorry, the video is gonna be in the time lapse might be in portrait, but basically, sorry about that. I was using it on the stand to aim down, so I could have hands free because I didn't have a horizontal tripod to aim it down at. But basically, I interrupted the um time lapse because of I was having issue getting the computer to boot, and this is with some new computers. So basically, I hooked up the power supply here, and then graphics card just to make sure everything works. It boots because I couldn't actually jump it. So how you jump the motherboard on this specific motherboard itself, you have to make sure the power supply is on, and then you have to jump. You have to hit the those two pins right there, the first two in front of my finger. That's a power button. And then once you do that, it should fire up. But when I basically did that, when I first said setting stuff up, it wasn't working. And so I literally just had to, because this is basically a newer issue, because I had the same issue with like a Ryzen board and also pretty much a 11500, which is an i5, but this is a 10 4. This is a 10100F. And so since I didn't have a spare power supply, I just made sure the power supply worked. But the issue was that it's just some motherboard, because I had the same issue with like my AMD board. And so yeah, so this just is the thing right here. And so basically, how you fix it was I just didn't know this until until I tried it out. So basically, because before I just had a power button, I just plugged into the AMD board and just to test to make sure it worked, and it worked. With this board, I didn't have that power button anymore because it stopped working. So I used this case I was gonna build in, put into here, and then I plugged it in here, set on the edge right here, and aimed the motherboard up so it can work. Press the power button, it just worked. And then when I basically took off that, it just started working again. So now you're gonna see me just finish this up. Yeah, so I was just doing it, just make sure all the parts worked. The RAM works, the SSD, not for sure yet, but I'll get into that when I get into installing Windows. And SSD is under here. And so, because I thought it was a power supply issue because of it wasn't plugging in all the way because of the little connector adapters on the side of here. I ripped those off with with this knife right here. Yeah. So time lapse will continue. Sorry about it being in portrait. Okay. So after finishing that, basically the things I did was basically I didn't put an IO shield because IO shield was basically didn't work out properly, and it took 10 hours to finish this whole setup thing because of installing the software and also getting distracted and stuff like that. So basically, the spec of this is an i3-100F with the 16 gigs of the DDR4. And this motherboard has a 2.5 gigabit NIC, so it does 2.5G, and the router up there is 2.5G. What's connected to it is a printer that's over here, and what's also connected is that interface for recording microphone. What's also there is a microphone over here, and also a capture card, which is also up there, and it was connected to the capture card is a what's that thing called? Apple TV. And what's in there is 4 hard drives, 250 gigabyte SSD, and I wanted to put an optical drive in there, but that kind of not really willing to put a hard optical drive in there because of it's already cramped enough in there. And also what's in there is 1050 Ti. I wanted to put a 2060 in here, but also too actually cramped. And basically the graphics card is going to have a dummy plug in there, which is over on the table there. But let me explain to you about what's running on here. So for now there's a I'm running 3 copies of Windows. So this main version of Windows, which I had installed and I was gonna run Steam on here, but it wouldn't install a couple games. It just would not work. And so I ran the Windows virtual machine, and I also ran it so I can connect to it from a Steam Link, because it passes through my graphics card to actually there. And when I'm not basically playing any games, which it's just going to be running 24/7 in the background, and when it's not playing games, I use it for OBS and coding with the NVENC encoder on OBS that runs on the main OS right here that runs minimize. So basically, this is the OBS lane, which is start, intro, main, and outro. So the main is where all the stuff happens. So on the Stream Deck, I have a it's called OBS Q. I have running OBS Q on my Mac right here, and that connects my Stream Deck, and it's using hotkeys F20 and F19 to basically go next, or back, previous. And I have a multi-action switch to basically allow me to press next. That will press next, and it will basically go from start to intro to main, and then the first multi-action will stop. Then it'll go to the next one, which is a switch part, and then it'll go from main, outro, and then it'll stop recording, because I forgot to say. So why would I basically, it goes stop recording, it goes from start, and then it'll start recording, and then it'll go to start, then intro, main, outro, main, and then stops there, and then goes to the next multi-action part. And then from that it goes from main, outro, stop recording, and then it'll go all the way back up to the top to make it so it doesn't, so I don't have to reset it every time, just to have a remote OBS recording. And so that webcam is hooked up to actually there, and it's going to be, and it also, because when I press record here on the Stream Deck, it records a webcam, and I'm going to have a mic that will be connected to the interface over here, probably a shotgun mic, I'm not for sure. And since I don't have to have it, and so since I'm not using a remote desktop protocol to access the machine. It basically will be running in the background, and if I need to access it, I can basically remote log in with my desktop protocol, and then press Alt F4, and it'll let me restart, and it'll go back to the way it was. And I have it so I can hear the audio that's coming out from my capture card through these headphones, which is connected to this interface. And so it's connected to the interface, and the headphones are over there. They're cheap headphones. But going from actually there is the thing's going to be headless with one of these, which is a dummy plug. It's a HDMI dummy plug, and it allows me to plug it into the monitor. Plug into the monitor port on the graphics card, and I get full resolution, and the graphics card can work fully instead of being downscaled. Let's see. Going to the virtual machines. So also, what's running on here is Plex, which is NVENC encoding. Plex does you use the encoder there too. So this uses encoding. The Steam virtual machine you use encoding, and so does OBS. But OBS is running, but it doesn't actively use graphic adapters while actually running. And then I have my Tor client running in the background as a web server, so I can basically type in the IP address and get to a web server from another computer and add torrents there, and it goes to the download hard drive, which I can access from another computer. And then I also have I have the torrent client on here for getting copies of the movies I actually buy on DVD, because I buy a lot of them, and I rather just download them than rip them all in higher quality and put them on my Plex server. Instead of I'd rather just download them there after I buy them, just make sure everything's legit. And from there, it gets saved there, and I can transfer it to my Plex server. And once I transfer it to my Plex server, it can be accessed over the network for say my Apple TV or my iPad. And yeah. I'll be replacing an Apple TV that I have up here with another Apple. One second. I'm replacing the Apple TV with another Apple TV in my room. So, well, I'm gonna replace, because that one came out of my room. I'm gonna replace it with another Apple TV. I'm gonna replace that with another Apple TV, like a 3rd gen one. I'm not for sure. So, then what's the virtual machines here is, you can see right here, it is you see it, Steam. The Steam one is my Steam VM that has full graphics card support, and also it has my Steam games on there, so I can play them with the remote play on my iPad or an Apple TV with a controller. And then the web host is my web host, which hosts my dashboard for all my links and stuff like that, because I was using Heimdall, and Heimdall doesn't really install well unless you're running it on Windows. Linux, or it doesn't work on Windows subsystem. And I also have my Mac backup, so this runs a backup for Time Machine backup on here, because let me just to show you here, this data drive, this virtual machine folder is virtual machine storage. The Mac backup is a 1.5 terabyte of data, and this one is around 256 for Steam. and then web host is around 128. But I can increase the theme one more, and just add. I can add the virtual machine. I can add the virtual machine to any folder. So let's just say this 4 TB gets full. I can add a 6 TB, 8 TB, and just add those on in there and just transfer them there and just re-add them to the VMware workstation. So, and all that's running on here. So, Plex, OBS, Qubit Torrent, VMware Player. VMware Workstation. That's also hosting 2 Windows VMs because the Steam one and also the web host are both running on Windows. The web host is 1 gig of RAM, one core. This has one gig of RAM. The Mac backup has 1 gig of RAM and 1 core, so that's 2 gigs RAM and 2 cores. And this uses 2 cores and 4 gigs of RAM. So in total, that's 6 gigs of RAM and 4 cores out of a 4-core 8-thread processor. I'm only using around 35% of my CPU and 65% of my RAM. And if you look here, it's actually 50. It's around 54%, and at 4.7 gigahertz. And the RAM is 10 gigs, so I have like 5 gigs left. This has 0% on there. This is 0%. And the disk 2, which is disk F, has around 65% because that's where my VMs are installed. I didn't install them onto a SSD. Well, I could have. I might just do actually that because I have a SSD space left and another SSD and another SATA spot left. I have another power supply connector left, and I might put an 870 Pro on there, or some kind of high endurance SSD, and just move it from my hard drives and use this hard drive for like storage again. Because this SSD actually has 2 to 4% usage on there. But the only virtual machine I might leave on here is the actual the Mac one because of its writing backups, and that would basically wear out an SSD faster. And also I have around 224 kilobits per second receive on the Ethernet, and the other Ethernets are less active. And then my GPU is using 31%. So, and these can run 24/7. And so I actually may just send my machine. I may make it so my machine can actually sleep or something, or I might do some other stuff like wake it up from actually land. I'm not for sure. I'm actually it's gonna run 24/7 the base machine, but all the other stuff I might make it so it can actually sleep. And so you do that by also I'm probably also, it sounds like this if you hear it. It sounds like that because of I'm also doing go here. I'm doing Plex scanning. And now it's finally done. Oh wow. Got everything except for one, so you got all the shows except for one. Perfectly fine, I guess. Let's see. No, so basically, the thing is when adding certain anime, for example, if for Silver Spoon, which is an anime, it doesn't get that cover art. It doesn't get the cover art for Night Wizards. It also doesn't get the cover art for another show I have on here. I don't know which one it was. Oh well. So with OBS running, I can probably get OBS running a little bit on demand, probably, if I use like a remote waker thing, a remote start, I don't know. And so now going back to here, we're only using 10% of CPU now, 7%, 59% of RAM. Because there's also another thing that's running on here is my print server, this classic shell. So the thing that has been disabled is so I can eat this much performance from here is I just disabled Windows Defender since my firewall is basically a little bit better. I actually have a better firewall coming in the mail, so to help with the protection that I can run like a virus protection software on there. I can run Pi-hole on there, and basically the only reason this literally took hours is because of I actually was having issues building the computer from it starting up. So I built it perfectly fine, but I usually test my machines before I put them in the case, and I messed around with the IO shield. The IO shield basically got bent and stuff like that. I spent like 20 minutes trying to unbend that because of yep. And so other than actually that, Windows install, the first Windows install took less than 15 minutes. The second one took a little bit longer. I messed up the second one. I had to reinstall third time, so I ended up installing Windows 4 times. Once on one virtual machine twice, and once on a virtual machine again, and one on main hardware. Since this printer only works on what's that thing called, on Windows, I have to have base Windows OS, or I could ran in a virtual machine and stuff, but the virtual machine doesn't work as well. And yeah, so now all I have to do now is unplug the keyboard, unplug this mouse, and then put in the dummy plug, and then turn it around. Hi guys, so this is editing Josh. This is the final part. This is how it's set up now, where everything, the clip you saw before was before I changed stuff, and this is after the final spot. So computer over there, UPS up there, Mac Mini here. This is M1, and 2 Stream Decks, one here and one over here. I might move the Stream Deck a little closer over here, but move the mouse over there a little bit more, but that's final setup. And this is a drawing tablet that is being screen mirrored. This is a 45p panel. This is an AP. These are being screen mirrored with a HDMI switch going to the HDMI port, so I didn't have to use the Thunderbolt port for for a video display, and I can just run OBS on a single screen, and I can basically draw with annotations, which is me pressing Control A, and it'll bring up some annotation notes, so I can basically draw on the screen in OBS. And since and I could do that with the second screen, but the problem was it didn't work properly. And if I run OBS in the background and I basically just annotate this with that, I can basically just press that button and it would work. And I can also basically assign it like F16 on the Stream Deck, and then put F16 on here, and then assign it to the pen display. And yeah, so that's everything. That's where the build's final resting place is. It's been there for about a week now, probably 9 days. And so yeah, that's where it's going to be. And then if I upgrade anything, the next upgrade will be a quieter cooler and a new graphics card. Okay, thanks for watching. This is the final part, and as of now, the video is around 41 minutes, and minus plus this, it'll be 43. I'm just going to get it a little bit down more, but you should see it go down after that. So thanks for watching. Bye.